Hello and welcome to this video where we'll continue with the dbt modeling of this modern data stack project, where we have ingested the API data and transforming it in different layers in the data warehouse, where the data warehouse is duckdb. But here we will work with dbt modeling, and we will work with dimensional and fact modeling. We will transform that, and then we will go into the marts layer and create the marts as well. After this, we can serve the streamlit dashboard so that in streamlit you can visualize different things based on the data from the marts models. This will be really interesting. And remember, in the last video, we created the sources. And now if you follow along in the data lineage, the sources will go into the fact table and into the dimension table. So here I have src job ads and I have src job details, right? So based on this, we'll create the dimension and the fact. So here in fact table, let's create fact job ads.sql. I'll change this one into Ninja SQL. Okay, so with job ads as select star from ref. And this is super cool with dbt. And maybe I haven't said that before, but dbt is compiling the code. It's compiling the dbt code into actual SQL that is for your specific database. So since we have chosen duckdb, then it will create duckdb SQL. When we are running dbt, the actual code is written in duckdb. We just pick out the model name, and the model name is source job ads. So source underscore job ads. So that is it. So select star from source job ads. It will find out what actual schema name it is, what actual table name it is, automatically when we're compiling it. So then with this one, we should be able to select star from job ads, and we can see what we get. Perfect. So you can see this is the ones from the source job ads. So let's do like this. Go into source job ads. We'll copy this part. So this is basically, I don't want vacancies as vacancies. We'll have just vacancies. Okay, so this is what I want. I have the things from source job ads, but I don't pick everything. Or I have picked everything, but I will start cleaning out. So occupation label and ID here. We will work with that later and this one later as well. So vacancies. Let's call it, vacancies. Application detail. Okay, so I want to have surrogate keys. So occupation label shall be my surrogate key for occupation ID. So I will create an occupation ID here. And this one should be key for, I'll write P job details ID. And here this should be employer ID as well. So now let me create this surrogate key. And surrogate key, if you don't know about that, it's just a key that is specific for the database. And it should be unique and could work as a primary key. Here, we have a surrogate key for this one, but I will use this same surrogate key in job details so that I can join them together later on. Okay? That is an important part. In order to create a surrogate key based on this column, I need something called, and I'll go into the browser, search up, and here, dbt package hub, you can see dbt utils, copy this one. It says include the following in your packages.file. So in dbt modeling, create a packages.yaml, and then you paste this one in. dbt modeling, dbt. And what this does is that it installs everything in my packages. So it installs dbtutils package, a lot of macros that will help us. Macros are functions that can be reused. In order to get a function, I will need to jinja. This means that I will a jinja syntax here. dbt, let's see. Actually, I probably need to do dbt run also. Okay, dbt run. And now, let's see. Curly braces, dbt. Yeah, exactly. I need to do dbt run in order for dbt power user to know that dbtutils exist here. Okay, so dbtutils dot generate surrogate key. Okay, generate surrogate key is a function. It takes parameter as a list of columns. So I want to pick in occupation label like this. And then what is this called? As occupation ID. And if I run, or I actually won't do this as, just to show you something. I'll run this one. No macro name generate surrogate key found. duckdb generate surrogate key. So basically what it is probably because db, we need to restart VS Code for dbtutils for this. Let's see. Occupation label. Actually, I want this in the fact table, right? Fact table. That is where I want to put it. dbt, let's see. dbtutils dot generate surrogate key, maybe occupation label. Here is quite interesting. This is the whole function. You can see that this jinja, this macro it returns this function md5. It's a hashing function. So hashing function means that you put in a set of characters and it will return a specific hash. So what it does is that it hashes so that we get 16 characters, I think, or more than 16, a set of characters here following a certain hashing function. And if you send in the same characters, it will give the same hash. So that if I do similar thing here in my source job, in my dimension occupation, then I will get corresponding hashes. And that is desirable because then we can join them together, right? So this is what it does. It does MD5. It does a casting, and it casting as a string. So it becomes a string with varchar here. You can see there's a coalesce function. What it does is that it replaces all the nulls with something called dbtutils underscore surrogate key underscore. So this is a specific way for it to handle null values. So this is what it does in the background so that you know that it's basically doing hashing. So this is a convenience function for us to generate a surrogate key. And this is quite useful because first of all, you get all the surrogate keys in a similar style. Secondly, when you have a very large amount of data, you want to make sure that the surrogate keys are kept unique based on the entries, right? So I'll use this dbtutil surrogate key quite a lot, and we call it as occupation ID. So now we have an occupation ID here. And I will make a similar thing for ID here. And this is job details ID, right? So dbtutils dot generate surrogate key. And here we have ID as job details ID. You see, I'll remove all of these. Let me see, there's some, there's node here that I missed. Okay, so you can see there's a job details ID, And then we'll do a similar thing for these two, right? So here, dbdiagram.generate surrogate key, and we'll put in employer workplace, comma, workplace address municipality. So I will remove these two as employer workplace, or not employer ID actually. Employer ID. Okay, clean. Now we have occupation ID, job details ID, employer ID, vacancies, relevance, application deadline. So this is the finest grain that the occupation label, this is the finest grain from the occupation, right? Occupation dimension. And the ID is the finest grain in your job details. And similarly for employee workplace together with workplace address municipality, because these two columns together will identify each row or each record uniquely. Okay, so I'm quite satisfied with the fact table. So let's go on to the dimension. So I have dim job details. I'll go into my source job details. I'll copy this directly. Ref. Actually, I should remove this as well. Ref. Model name is the source job details, right? And stage job details, no, I'll call it job details. And here, for the job details, I want to have the ID, and this should be the job details. I'll run this one to see that it works. It doesn't work. Why? Because, yeah, we have a lot of as here. So we'll remove this because we have already changed the name, right? Okay, now it should work. Great, it works. Okay, so now let's here for ID, I want to do dbtutils again. dbtutils.generate surrogate key. And here I'll put in my ID as ID, job details ID. Job details ID. So you can see it becomes this ID here. So the idea is that if I join this one together with my back job ads, the corresponding job, right? And here, let me also show you one thing here. So we have duration. If I click here, you can see that there's null values. So I don't want the values. Instead, I will do a coalesce function. What it does is that it replaces all the nulls with something I choose. So I'll choose it as a means not specified, basically, or not specified, as duration. So if I click here again, you can see a, then I fill the null values. Good. And there is some more null values that you should fill, but I won't do that. So it's a similar thing here, actually, for example, salary. Type, let me see. If I go here, there's salary description has a lot of null. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Then I don't have the source for the occupation. So src occupation.sql. And basically I will just copy paste from my lecture note and I will explain to you what it means. So basically if I run this one, you can see that there's occupation group and occupation field. That is it. And also I placed in their IDs, but we will pick from the occupation to make the surrogate key. And what you can see here is that this is quite interesting, that you see that occupation, there's, for example, a lot of architect here. So when the dimension that you're creating, you'll have one architect, you'll have one application engineer, you'll have one anläggningsingenjör. So you don't want several of them, you want them to be unique, right? So that when you're joining a one-to-many, you will get each of the occupations. So for the dimension that are here repeating, you want to deduplicate it. So this is quite important. That's why I wanted to show you the occupation as well. So then we go into dim occupation. And for dim occupation, I'll paste this in as well. And I'll remove these three. I'll also remove here, all the as here. And I will fix this one. It should be ref. Let's see, I need to change language. Jinja.SQL. Model name src occupation. Okay. So if I run this one, we only have, let's see, stage job ads. It's not called job ads. It's called occupation. And I will pick occupation here. I'll call dim occupation because I have an occupation already. Okay. I forgot to save source occupation basically. So when I ran source occupation, saved it, and then I run this one and it works. So I run this one and it seems to work now. Okay, so we get occupation group, occupation field. So the occupation I want to create into a surrogate key, right? So dbtutils dot generate surrogate key. And I want to pick in occupation ID. So now, cool, I have occupation ID, I have occupation group and occupation field. However, occupation, you can see there's still duplicate. So we need to deduplicate this. And in order to deduplicate this, it's quite simple. You can do like this. You can group by occupation. You need to find out an aggregation function. What I will do is I'll pick the max of this one as occupation group. I will pick out max of occupation field as occupation field. And what this does is that it picks out the ones that are, if there's several that are same, it will pick out the latest one. So it's an aggregate function. We have several architect. It now becomes one architect. So we get only 315 rows here. So if I choose this one, you can see all of them are unique. Sjukvårdare. So they are unique now based on occupation. And it's based on occupation that we create the occupation ID. So you can see this dimension is much smaller than the fact table and the job details. So when we're joining it together, it should work anyway, because we're joining on occupation ID and all will have several of these go into, so the many side in the fact table. So I save this one and we can do dbt run now. Okay, cool. It worked successfully and I will do like this. duckdb-ui adds. And you should look here now that when I do desk, we can see, cool, we have refined layers, we have dim job details, we have dim occupation, fact job ad. So let's create another one from refined dot, you can see there's 6,300 rows. And we can have refined dot, and you can see it's 315. And interestingly, let's try a join now. So we could do like this. Select star from refined dot fact job ads. We call it F. Left join. What do I want to join on? I want to join on the dimension. The dim occupation is refined as well. Refined.dim occupation, I'll call it O on F dot occupation ID equals to O dot occupation ID. So if I run this one, you can see that, let's see, occupation ID. Let's see here. We can pick occupation. We can do like this, O dot occupation group, O dot occupation group, O occupation field. And you can see here, there's a lot of civilingenjörkonstruktör machine. You can see it repeats several times because we had several of these IDs in the foreign key in the fact table. So this makes sense. However, let's also find .dim job details called JD on f dot job details ID equals JD dot job details ID. And I will pick out the headline. And you can see here, architect, it's in architect, fastighet is in fastighet, so this is houses, etc. And DevOps engineer, okay, service engineer, machine. And then we have civil engineer, construction, machine. And you can see this is several of them, and there are several of these. So let's compare this one to from staging dot job ads. I don't want to pick everything. I want to do select a headline. I want to pick occupation and also vacancies and relevance. Let's see, it's called number vacancies. Number vacancies, relevance, occupation, label, like this. 3-1 architect. So it seems to work. So this join was successful. And the IDs that we picked are successful. So we have created foreign key, primary key relations here. So you can see that occupation ID goes into here, dim occupation, dim employer goes into here, dim job details go into here. Okay, so with this video, we have gone through creating the dimensions and creating the fact tables, and then we have done dbt run to see it materializes as views in our data warehouse in duckdb. So we've gone into duckdb UI to explore it. Then we tried out to do joins to join out the different job details with the fact table and with the dimension occupation. And then we compare this to the staging data, so the raw data, and it looks similar. That is good news. And also we have created the surrogate keys with generate surrogate key based on different columns. And also we have done deduplication of the occupation as we want it to be unique. So each occupation should be unique in the dimension occupation. And then based on that column, we made the surrogate key. So this really made sense, and it's super fun that we managed to come this far. So in the next video, we'll go into creating the marts. I will create the marts, and then based on the marts, we'll be able to serve a streamlit dashboard. So see you in the next video. Bye.